The ISDE is legendary in enduro racing and motorcycle competition in general. Welcome to the 82nd edition of the famous 6 days of enduro. In this program, we'll bring you the race and all the rest from this one-of-a-kind event, a celebration of enduro competition that was held for the first time in its long history between the Andes and the Pacific Ocean in Chile. From the capital, Santiago, it's a 6-hour drive on the one major road that heads north to La Serena. This coastal resort town is home to 160,000 and is a favourite holiday destination for affluent Chileans and Argentinians. Tourism is one of the region's principal industries in this country, measuring 4,200 kilometres in length. The clement weather, colonial architecture and large beaches are why holidaymakers come to La Serena. La Serena, near to the region's city of Coquimbo, is also a hub for local agriculture and fishing. In leaving the coast, very soon the scenery changes. Arid regions and austere vegetation on one side, with the other buttressed by the Andes and the major bronze mines. Chile is the world leader in this domain with 36% of the market. So a perfect setting for the 521-rider 30-nation caravan. For those who are not in the ISDE's history, the riders compete not just for individual honours, but more significantly, in a Nations Cup format. And the delegations entered the opening ceremonies in Olympic Games style. After taking the title in New Zealand, Finland, led by Juha Salminen and Jari Mattila, had the honour of the cortege. There was record representation from South America, including Venezuela, Mexico, Uruguay, Ecuador, Argentina, and host country Chile. After a week spent scouting the special stages, the start finally come. The start of the competition for the 6 days, of which FIM President Vito Ippolito from neighbouring Venezuela has come to take in.
I'm very happy to be here in La Serena in Chile. We have within 3-4 minutes the start of this 82 Grand Prix of 6 days of enduro. I'm very happy and the organization is very good. I think everybody is very well prepared for this race.
Finland's Jari Mattila drew a favourable starting position. He's wearing the #1 bib and sets off in the same minute as Britain's Tom Sagar and Argentinian Junior Franco Caimi. This course will be the venue for the first 2 days of competition. A 250-kilometre loop starting off from the beach, returning via the rocky tracks of the mountains. The team orders are the same for every nation. Ride and don't overdo it. Well, who will succeed the United States, winners in 2006, in the junior? There are numerous contenders, 15 in fact, 15 under-23 4-rider teams, and among these countries, Chile has put together one of the more serious contingents and will count heavily on Vicente Israel and Cristobal Urrutia. A South American country has never won the junior title since its inception in 1980. But why not Chile on home turf? Among the rest are all the major European enduro nations, including Sweden. But the Scandinavians suffered a tough blow. On the day, the ISDE rules allow each team to throw out its worst result each day, which is known as a joker. And Sweden used up their joker just as the competition was getting underway when Fredrik Berg dropped out. The yellow and blue juniors now have no room forever. No such worries for Italy and Thomas Oldrati. Young Oldrati was third at the end of day one. Italy among the favourites in the junior ranks, as are France, which finished runners-up on day one. The French have a solid under-23 squad with two World Junior Championship runners-up, Marc Bourgeois and Christophe Namontin. But the fastest nation on day one was Spain. The Iberian Federation didn't enter a team for the trophy class, but put everything into their junior lineup. And it shows day one results. Spain leads by 1 minute 29 from France. The trophy competition is the ISDE main event, the best riders from each country forming 6-man teams with just one joker allowed. This is an important competition for Europe's top enduro nations. Among them, Sweden has put together a stout side with Bjorn Karlsson. His 15 years of international experience may tell. There's also the recently crowned World Junior Champion Joachim Lundgren. He's come to compete alongside his older compatriot.
I start good with the first. I was third in the class and make good overall, and then I have some problem with I catch on guys and get together with someone, but I'm happy. I know my body feels good and the bike feels okay, no problem. So I think this will be good. It's gonna be tough out there. There are so many people and so loose sand, so it starts already now to get very bumpy, and I think in the end of these 6 days it's hard for your hands and everything. It will be good.
Sweden is fourth and off to a good start on the 6 days. So is Italy. Despite the absence of Simone Albergoni, Forza Italia has a formidable lineup with a group of riders with an abundance of experience in nations competition. Only motocross rider Alex Salvini is an enduro novice, but the sandy terrain suits him just fine. Defending champions Finland doesn't have the services of two of its top riders. Current World Enduro 2 champion Mika Ahola and class runner-up Samuli Aro. But there are still some world-class riders among the Finns, including Juha Salminen and Marko Takala. Competing in Enduro 3, Takala has already had his problems.
I try find a good suspension setting all day, because when I tested my bike, that test track was very deep sand, and now today was some test was very hard, and it was very difficult to get a good grip and good feeling, and but now I find a little bit better setting, and I hope tomorrow going a little bit better.
It's a surprise to no one that the Finns are comfortable in the sand. France too, and that is a surprise. France is without stars Marc Germain and Sébastien Guillaume. The French side isn't too bothered. At the end of day one, France leads the way with a 14-second lead over Finland. Like in New Zealand a year ago, the French were once again the fastest early on in the event. And the fastest among them was Johnny Aubert, winner in his class ahead of Juha Salminen. As well as the team competition, there's also the individual standings. Day one in Enduro 3, as well as the overall, dominated by surprising American Kurt Caselli. A member of the defending World Junior team, Caselli is riding for more than individual honours.
Individual. The team's not so good this year. The junior team is good again, but I'm too old now, so I have to ride the trophy team, and we have a few guys from the back east, and they don't ride much desert or sand, so it's not a very strong team, but just do as good as I can.
Host nation Chile put together an experienced team. Names such as Vicente Israel and Francesco Lopez are no strangers to the international scene, with their numerous participations in motocross and rally raid events around the world. Nicolas Arusha was a member of Chile's first ISDE team in 1997, 10 years ago, and the start of an adventure.
I
raced the first ISDE in 1997 on a very difficult course, and I learned that it wasn't necessarily important to be the fastest, but also that I had to take care of the bike. You have to know how to set it up and to be as complete a rider as possible. Most of the team isn't from around here, they're from the capital, Santiago, where the terrain is different. They had to put in some serious training on the sand. We did a lot of fitness work as well, and I believe the Chilean team is very well prepared.
Y bueno, eso es lo que hemos hecho durante el año y mucho trabajo físico también. Así que el equipo chileno estaba muy bien preparado, yo creo.
As nowhere near the enduro experience of the European countries, the riders don't yet have professional status, but they don't lack for effort in wanting to learn the discipline, as the sport is enjoying tremendous popularity in this region of South America. Enduro is known, says Ricardo Leon, but not as much as football. But there are a lot of people here who participate in enduro. Generally motorcycling, like enduro itself, as well as motocross.
Enduro general y el motociclismo, muy fuerte el enduro y el motocross, lo practica mucha gente.
At the close of day one, Chile is 7th, ahead of more traditional enduro countries like Germany and the Czech Republic. Day 2 from La Serena, and no rest for the weary in the ISDE. The riders got mouthfuls of sand and dust intrude the machines. After just days, 93 competitors have abandoned an ISDE record. Day 2 in the junior class turned out to be decisive concerning the title, especially for Italy. At midday, Thomas Aldrati arrives at his service point to rest for a few minutes and have work done to his bike. Up until now, everything has gone fine. On the following special stage, though, the KTM rider dropped out of the ISDE with a mechanical problem. The Italian juniors no longer had their joker and they almost lost Gritty. Gritty was given a push, which is not allowed, and yet he escaped through a loophole in the regulations which allowed him to compete the following day. He was given a time penalty though, and the Italians were no longer in contention for the win. The British too had no joker to spare. Since the day before, Lee Edmondson and his teammates were under the gun.
It's a bit different to England. I mean, back home it's all mud and rain and freezing degrees. Here it's bright, deep sand and hard, so yeah, it's a little bit different, but it's good fun.
No worry. Australia, they've been the surprise side since the start of the race. The Wallabies are 3rd. Over in the French camp, Jean-Charles Gilbert had all sorts of problems. Spark plugs, fuel and a few tumbles. Despite it all, the French juniors are a solid 2nd. With a 2 minutes 18 seconds lead, Spain is far ahead. The Iberian team can rely on Oriol Mena's incredible fortitude. After a serious accident at the start of the season, Mena carry on with less than ideal vision and a very sore jaw. The Spanish coach called me 4 months ago. He told me he was counting on me to come here to Chile with the juniors. I told him I probably wouldn't be at 100%, but that I'd give it a go. I worked a lot to be in top 4. In the trophy class, just as in the juniors, day 2 was a day of reckoning and penalties. Among the major enduro nations, France was the least on form. Johnny Aubert began to make mistakes and lost the lead in the standings, falling to second. The long and fatiguing liaisons could be mistaken for those on some of Africa's rally rates. Yes, it's very similar, but it's funny because a rally bike is heavier and doesn't move. Don't feel the stones as much. Today was really hard because you could feel even the smallest stones on the front end. After an opening day of wait and see, Italy put the collective hammer down on day 2. Still third overall, they did take 25 seconds from the French, and they could have done even better had Serena not dropped precious seconds. Well, everyone crashed, even the Finns. Despite appearances, the defending champions are clearly the quickest in these conditions. Winner of his category, Juha Salminen, took some revenge from Johnny Aubert, and Finland moved to the top of the overall standings.
No, we never ride in the beach, you know. So, well, it's kind of sand, but it's not sand, let's say. You know, sand what we have home, we have more rocks and it's kind of hard sand. Here is completely soft, but yeah, well, it's getting bumpy and we used to ride in bumps, so it's kind of for us, but it's completely different what we have at home.
It was a day of contrasting fortunes for Finland when Enduro 1 rider Eero Remes encountered mechanical problems at the day. While the shining lights of the WEC had a hard day of it, the lesser-known countries such as Canada really struggled, and for them the race was more of an endurance issue on the liaisons.
How much time do I have? About like yesterday, it's 08. You're in about 20 minutes ahead.
It's pretty damaged up in the mountain, so, and then you just relax on the road on your way back here. And then the sand section, there's a sand section before coming here, before the beach. It's pretty whooped out, so, you know, you get tired. People, they get their suspension for the mountain, and then you get into the whoops, and then you get really, really tired in there. But it's a cool track. The country is awesome. I really like the ride.
There were 15 women competing in the 2007 ISDE. 5 three-women teams entered in preparation while waiting for the creation of an official all-female trophy in 2008. There are Chileans, Germans and Swedes who are already known in enduro circles, the French too, and the quickest of them all, the Americans.
There's 3 of us that have all competed in a 6 days before. Mandy Maston has competed, I believe this is her 6th, and this is my 3rd. So we have quite a bit of experience, so we're just hoping that we hold up and come home with the new cup.
Well, the French, in second place, possess an undeniable charm to go with their collective motorbike prowess. Behind team captain Ludovine Puig, they've stolen just a bit of the French lad's thunder.
Well, Audrey
is my best girlfriend, she says. When I need her like today, I know she's always there. Stephanie is a lot further back. Nice girl. When we're in our hotel room, we chat like all the other girls, which is cool. To be here is the reward for the work we've put in for years. The goal is to win. There are 4 days left. In any case, to be here with the guys is different. We're not used to racing alongside them. It's a wonderful adventure, especially in
plein de choses avec les inters parce que chacun est dans des teams différents. C'est une aventure merveilleuse, surtout au Chili.
There was a change in scenery and in direction for day 3 of the ISDE. The beach is now a thing of the past as the riders head east and the buttress of the Andes through a more than 250 kilometers loop on more relaxed tracks but on specials requiring more technique. The hierarchy in the junior class didn't change with this change of terrain. Australia confirmed that they're not just competitive in the sand, but also on the rocky tracks of the Enduro Test and the Vicuna Special, which was a veritable nightmare for the top riders. The Aussies were still third at the end of day. The French proved to be more at ease on this layout. Marc Bourgeois put in the maximum attack aboard his 125cc machine. Julien Dubac, who we see here, and Jean-Charles Gilbert lost just a few seconds, while the world number 2 in Enduro 2, Christophe Namontin, was the only one with problems. On day 3, France conceded 1 minute and 3 seconds to the uncontested junior class leaders, the Spanish. The Chilean tracks on day 3 are very similar to those in Portugal and Spain in the World Championship. Guerrero, Mena, Santolino and Andreu were on the money as they took top honours for the 3rd consecutive day.
No, la verdad es que de este terreno tampoco.
Oh, you know, we often ride on these types of tracks in Spain. We're motocross riders by trade. In principle, we're more comfortable in the sand stages. One could believe it's easier for us, but I think it's hard for everyone. One really trains specifically for this type of terrain.
Y se nota que todo el mundo le cuesta ir en este tipo de terreno porque no estamos acostumbrados tampoco a entrenar en él.
At the halfway point of the ISDE, Spain has lengthened its lead to 3 minutes 21 from France, Australia 3rd, Finland and Germany round out the top. Well, rock-strewn tracks are not the preferred terrain of the Swedes, who are more accustomed to the snow-covered specials run through the pine forest home. And the Swedes lost the services of team leader Bjorn Karlsson in the riverbed. The giant Swede fell and broke his arm, but there were reasons for Swedish enduro interests to smile too. Joachim Lundgren and Andreas Torresson rode consistently, and Peter Bergvall put in a remarkable performance after putting his career on hold for a while.
Pretty hard. After 1 year, it's pretty hard to come back, and all these young guys going fast. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. What bothers me is that I have a little bit problem with allergic symptoms, so that's the only thing. The rest is okay.
Well, France wasn't the quickest team on this loop, finishing in 3rd on the day. The Fred Weil-led team preferred to play it safe, and it must be said that the riders and machines had a difficult day. As can be seen with the arrival of Julien Gauthier to the Parc Ferme. Gauthier experienced an all-new drop in power on his bike, and there were only 15 minutes to get it sorted. In the French camp, Yamaha rider Johnny Aubert ran strongly. He's grown accustomed to these sorts of specials in the Italian Championship. In the individual standings, Aubert picked up 53 seconds on Juha Salminen, who fell off his KTM and lost a substantial amount of time. The had more bad luck when Eero Remes dropped out with a mechanical problem suffered the day before. For Remes, it was also a case of the valves on his bike not being able to cope with the dust accumulated from the first 3 days of the event. Luckily for Finland, Jari Mattila was on form. The former Beta rider was provided with a KTM last minute for the ISDE, and he rode in dominating fashion in Enduro 1. But Kurt Caselli is still the very surprising leader in the overall individual standings, ahead of the likes of WEC standouts Aubert, Salminen and Tarkala. On the Enduro Test and the Vicuna Special, only the Italians seemed really at home, and their times reflected their dominance. These particular sectors resemble those found on the events held in Italy's Lombardy region. If we were to count the participation of the co-organiser, the Bergamo Motorbike Club, and the presence of 150 Italian volunteers, the Squadra Azzurra is nearly the host nation of this 82nd edition of the ISDE. Yeah, you could get the impression we're in Italy with all the supporters. terrain isn't really Italian. There are still specials with lots of sand. I'd say it's closer to what they have in Finland. Well, in the nation standings, Finland still leads, but Italy has closed the gap while pulling away from current third place France. Sweden and the UK round out the top 5.
From Greece.
And Greece will be the host country for the 2008 Six Days. After twice hosting the World Championship, the town of Serena and its local bike club can already promise the Enduro fraternity quite a good time.
We are waiting all of you with great enthusiasm and passion, and we're sure that we will do our best to organize one of the best ISDE you have ever attended. We are very enthusiastic, and not only us, the members of the organizing team, but all the people of Ceres.
Well, nearly everyone rides a motorcycle in Greece. Among the 20-nation field, the Greeks are not the fastest, but are counting on their experience in Chile to make progress.
We don't have a big history in Enduro, and we don't participate in Enduro World Championship. The Greek Championship, yeah, it's not so difficult like the World Championship, but we have good battles in Greece also, in our level.
Now, the veterans always say that something often happens on day 4. For the Italians, the day was before it even began, when it took 10 minutes to change the radiator on Alessandro Bellametti's bike. He barely made it in time for the start. The under-23 Italian squad, the ISDE, was over. After losing Aldrati, Marco Gritti was the next to drop out. While the Finns made a little improvement, Spain continued to pull away and lengthen its commanding lead. Cristobal Guerrero leads in Enduro 1, along with his teammates, now 4 minutes and 4 seconds ahead of current second-place nation France. Christophe Nambontin fell victim to heat problems after accidentally swallowing cooling fluid. Australia is still on the podium in third, and one of the revelations of the 2007 ISDE was young Joshua Strag, who could have a promising career in Enduro. In the trophy class, behind the battle for the podium between Finland, Italy and France, there's another fight taking place, pitting Holland against Great Britain for 5th place, with Holland having the upper hand thanks to sand specialist Hans Vogel. The British squad is in the midst of a transition period between the old guard and the new boys, incarnated by the surging Tom Sagar, and the veterans, including none other than longtime GP competitor Paul Edmondson.
The 6 days for me is important for these lads because it gives them the experience that they need for the World Championships.
How many 6 days?
21. No, it's 20 of 6 days, and maybe I've done, I think, 17, 18 or something. I'm forgetting now. It's just numbers.
And then the first major turnabout on the ISDE. Finland, that had dominated the competition through day 3, out of contention all of a sudden. The clutch on Juha Salminen again broke, and he needed help to complete the last time sector of the day and the handful of meters on the liaison section to reach the paddock. The footage and the steward's decision were clear. Salminen was disqualified, leaving Finland with 4 riders, and thus they wouldn't retain their title. Their exclusion promoted Italy to the top of the nation's standings. Thanks to the impressive speed of Alessandro Bellametti, Maurizio Micheluz and Alex Buturi, the Squadra Azzurra is back on form after a less than brilliant season in the WEC. But it wasn't all good news for the Italian. Andrea Bellotti broke his arm and the new ISDE leaders had used up their joker.
It
was a strange day for Italy. Everyone had problems, whether it was or Finland. I don't know exactly what the situation is in the standings, but what I do know is that tomorrow will be crucial. It will be very hard to win, all the same.
Penso che domani e domani l'altro saranno I giorni cruciali, non bisognerà mollare. Adesso inizia a farsi sentire la stanchezza, però bisogna tenere duro e chi la dura la vince.
France also moved up a position and are now second, 3 minutes and 20 behind Italy. As their rivals had a rough day, the French dealt with their difficulties with level heads. Both Fabien Planet and Johnny Aubert suffered, and like the other ISDE contenders, France dealt with unforeseen hazards over the 6 days. In taking top honours in his category on day 4, Aubert moved into a tie for the individual rider lead with Kurt Caselli. It's far from over in both the team and individual standings. With an amazing number of retirements with mechanical problems, this ISDE will be remembered for the damage done to the motors and sand. Taking extra care with the engine's air filter is the key to making it to the end. You have to be really careful when preparing the air filters. You have to make sure sand and dust doesn't get into the motor and the carburetors. When nearing the end of they'll have to take care of the material, both rider and machine. You have to do everything to avoid dust, not wear the bike out in the sand, and you have to be sure not to follow the other guys on the liaison sections. You have to try to ride alone and make sure the bike is okay. I try to do the most I can, but I'm not a mechanic. I do what I can, and I hope the bike will go to the end. With the time sections in the dirt, rocks and sand, the suspension also requires a lot of attention, and we could say that in Chile the show was just as good in the stage as it was in the areas. Each team has its setup secrets, and they're not about to give them away.
Qu'est-ce qu'il faut changer justement?
Oh, you know, when an intrepid journalist asks what needs to be changed, Frank Boulisse responds by saying it's too technical. For the 5th and final day of pure enduro competition, the ISDE returned to the beach and a surfing safari atmosphere for the survivors. This last loop is without question the best of this ISDE, which is one of the most exotic and most liked among the riders and the most competitive as well. On day 5 of 6, Spain's junior team would put an end to any other country of taking the top spot. They buried their rivals in the sand, taking another 3 minutes and 30 seconds from second place France. I think everybody did a good job today. All that's left is the motocross final, and we have a good-sized lead ahead of second place. We hope everything goes well tomorrow and we take the win. Day 5 saw French rider Julien Dubac drop out with a problem with his bike, leaving France without a joker. But there was no reason for concern. The French lads just had to stay on their bikes because third place Australia is more than 9 minutes behind. only Finland could pose a possible threat to knock the Aussies off the podium, while the surprising under-23 Chileans are fifth with 1 day of competition remaining. Whether it's in the trophy or the junior class, Chile has done its proud. Starting day 5 in 8th and in a close battle with the United States, the host country is the highest placed American nation and far ahead of the rest of their South American brethren. Now everyone will have to get used to seeing the red jerseys up front in the ISDE. Sweden is also doing well. Despite the retirement of team leader Bjorn Karlsson on day 3, the Scandinavian team rode intelligently in the 3rd overall. For Joachim Lundgren and his teammates, it's been great fun.
Yeah, I'm fine. Finished the 5th day and I think I'm 3rd in my class, so it's a good result for me, and it was a good 6 days. It's not over yet, but it was not so difficult like in the World Championship, but it was very long and very hard for your head. You always go fast roads and all the dust, but I think it was a good 6 days.
It's still a battle between France and Italy for the win in the trophy class, but the French bit of time to make up on their neighbours from the other side of the Alps. Despite team leader Johnny Aubert's speed, Les Bleus only managed to cut 24 seconds of their deficit. With a 2-minute 54-second lead heading into the final day, the Italians are looking a good bet for top honours, and they've done a fine job up until now to be able to control their fate. With no joker to rely on, a mechanical problem would be the only thing that could ruin an outstanding ISDE. With the junior riders out of contention, they were requisitioned to help their compatriots in the trophy class. The younger lads were now used for rapid assistance that highlighted the Italian savvy, ready to use the subtleties of the rules to their advantage to win. And one rider who did more than just hold his end up was first-time enduro competitor Alex Salvini. This is my first ever enduro. I normally compete motocross. To start with, the 6 days is really hard. I'm pretty pleased because I'm 3rd in my category and we're leading in the trophy class. If it stays this way, we'll see. It's a magnificent experience and I'm proud to have done my part because I never thought I'd have done this well. I just hope we can make it to the end tomorrow.
Sono contento di averla portata fino in fondo. Pensavo di non farcela e niente, speriamo che sia così anche domani.
It's the long-standing ISDE tradition, the motocross final on day 6. The survivors of the 6 days each take part in a 20-minute motocross race. It isn't where you finish, but rather the time difference that count. 10,000 spectators and live coverage on Chilean television, and unsupportable suspense, especially in the trophy class, because we know by past experience that anything can happen in the motocross final. There was electricity in the air, but to take the edge off, one need look no further than the purple helmets from man. These Enduro fanatics were, as they are at each ISDE, very much part of the show here at La Serena. The first heat was for the top Enduro 1 riders. Among them are two of Spain's leading junior team, Guerrero and Mena, and two of Italy's trophy-leading squad, Salvini and Micheles, who will be keeping a close watch on Frenchmen Gautier and Mikel. Current leader in the Enduro 1 individual standings, Jari Matilla, will be another rider to watch. Matilla gets the whole shot. Salvini is second, ahead of Torresen and Guerrero. On lap 2, though, Julien Gautier goes down. The time lost is going to cost Gautier a full lap as well as a 1-minute time penalty. The French hopes dwindle as Salvini moves into the lead on lap 9. Alex Salvini is a motocross rider by trade and will most certainly get another call-up to the national squad for the Motocross Nations event. The torn-up sandy La Serena circuit poses Salvini no trouble, and he's heading towards the heat win in front of Guerrero, Torresen and Matilla. Clinch the E1 individual title, with France's Damien Mikel rounding out the top 5. Heat 2 and the Spanish juniors can afford to take it easy. The title is nearly clinched. Italy's Bellometti and Dini, both former Grand Prix motocross riders, will have to contend with Johnny Aubert, who is in line for top overall individual honours, and Deparois, who is right at home on a motocross circuit. Johnny Aubert takes the lead at the start, and after a few laps, Aubert, another former GP cross rider, pulls away to take a commanding lead. France taking valuable time out of Italy, but Aubert's teammate Deparois crashed on lap 1. Starting 5th, Alessandro Bellometti will do his best to keep Italy in the lead. He moved up as high as 2nd before 3rd, before being passed by Jeremias Israel, who was really going for it in front of his own adoring public. In the late stages of the race, Aubert managed to put in a full lap on his teammate Deparois. He's taking a big step towards the overall title, but he was hit with a 1-minute penalty. Pretty much ends France's bid for the team championship. Johnny Aubert will now have to wait to see where Kurt Caselli finishes in the 3rd and final heat. A heat that also includes Alessandro Botturi, who will have to make sure he finishes to ensure the title for Italy. Sweden's Patrick Wicksell got the whole shot and has the trio of David Kadek from the Czech Republic, Caselli and Marco Takala all chasing him. Italy got a big scare when Alex Botturi crashed, but he did manage to get back into the saddle. Meanwhile, Marco Takala rode on for the win ahead of Wicksell and Caselli, while Alessandro Botturi hung on to the ISDE title for Italy.
El resultado de nuestra selección, ambas, la Junior y la World Cup. Pero
bene, troppo bene.
Oh, you know, it's great, just great. It's a tremendous feeling. I'm sorry for France, which wasn't very lucky, but we won.
Come sta? Bene,
Benissimo.
Oh, it's fantastic. This was my first 6 days. I finished in the top 3 in my category and we won the trophy. It's incredible. I'm so pleased. Today I won cross heat. It's just fantastic. So Italy won the ISDE Nations Trophy for the 14th time. France finished. Sweden was third, with Holland and Great Britain rounding out the top 5. Chile finished 9th. After a blitzing start to the competition, Spain went on to win the junior title, its 4th to date in the ISDE, thanks to the next wave of enduro aces Mena, Santolino, Andreu and Guerrero. We all finished the race, and that was the idea. Our goal was to finish day 5 with a full squad, all 4 of us. Right from the opening day, we all did our jobs, and it was the team effort that brought us the title. Well, like in the trophy class, France finished runners-up in the junior competition. Finland was 3rd, ahead of Australia and Chile. Well, the man of the meet in this ISDE was French. Aubert defeated both Dua Salminen and Kurt Caselli, winning what was a drama-filled 6 days of competition for overall honours in the individual standings, a first in the history of French enduro. When I started in enduro, then became competitive, I started thinking about how great it would be to win the 6 days. The only Frenchman to have done it was Peter Hansel. It feels great to be in the same company as an enduro superstar and to put this win on my record sheet. And the United States won the ladies' race while Ludovine Puy took top individual honours. The top club of this ISDE was Spain, a team comprised of Victor Jacob Agra and Xavi Galindo. And that brings an end to the 2007 ISDE from Chile, an extraordinary addition. In 2008, the legend of the 6 days will come from Ceres in Greece.